doing it. You supposed to be happy you sitting there with Kid L. Why you mad?
The Kid L Podcast.
Flow contains.
Introduce yourself to everybody real quick, man.
Yeah, my name is Nadim Azzam. I'm an artist, vocalist, guitarist, producer between Ann Arbor and Detroit. I was born in Vermont, grew up in Ann Arbor,
Cool.
spent a few years in Arizona, but Ann Arbor, Michigan's home.
Ann Arbor is hot, man.
Yeah, grew up around U of M. It's a good scene. But musically, I grew up in Detroit. Since like about a decade ago, I interned with Gino XO at XO Studios and around like the D12 crowd, and I got to observe studio sessions, watching everybody from Boldy James, Guilty Simpson, and just I came up sort of in hip hop between the two. Musically, I've always been I started as a guitarist trying to be like Slash. That's where the hair came from.
Sweet.
Obsessed with Guns N' Roses, but then one day I became a vocalist through sort of a crazy experience. I was out in Utah. I don't know how deep you want to go into it.
No, let's talk, man. It's a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I started on the guitar thing, and I was like, my whole life is I'm going to be this hard rock electric guitar kid. And then I got sent away. I was a fuck up in high school, so I got sent away to one of those wilderness programs where I was out in the middle of Utah in the desert.
Yeah.
And I woke up with scorpions in my sleeping bag and the rattlesnakes and shit. But part of the experience was you do a solo for 3 days. So I was you go 500 yards away from everybody and you're just off on your own in the desert. They're like, oh yeah, it's a mountain lion area. Just yell out if you need anything. And I was sort of on this self-discipline tip at the time, trying to fast and this, that, and the other, and get in touch with myself. And I decided while I was doing this, most kids, they would save up their food or whatever for the week and just sort of cook and eat the whole time, sort of stay distracted. I was like, I'm going to fast for the 3 days that I'm on this solo. And the staff there, the therapist dude was like, why don't you not read or anything too and really just sit with yourself?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And I can't tell you what it's like to sit for 3 days and stare at a blade of grass. The only thing to do is tend the fire. And it's I was really on this I'm trying to meditate and learn what are the Buddhist secrets kind of thing. And I was just I just got so depressed just sitting there staring at this blade of grass. If this is it,
wow, that's usually
what's
the opposite effect when people do that.
Well, it's it's the kind of thing we were talking about earlier too. It's if you try too hard, right? If you try to force something, it's the Taoist idea of Wu Wei. You gotta it's not giving up, but it's accepting that you're not in control of if this goes the way it's supposed to go.
Right.
Well,
yeah, I mean, in India, that's a huge thing. What you kind of did was in India, that's a natural ritual. When you're younger, they put you in those kind of areas. They'll put you alone in the forest or in the woods or whatever, and you continue your journey from that point, and you kind of discover yourself that way.
Yeah, it's I think it's something more people should have some experience with. I feel we're really out of touch with nature, with life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But
yeah, think about it, bro. All you do all day long is chill inside of a house surrounded by technology and shit.
Bro.
What part of that is the earth? What part of that is life and anything of that sort?
Even just getting out and going for a walk will change your life. The way you feel. It was they say oh, there's so many kids that are depressed and have issues these days. It's is it that 4 out of 5 kids or whatever are born with a deficiency, or is it the environment's sick?
Yeah. Because there's so much convenience surrounding us now that you can stay at home all day long, or you can just be at somebody's crib or doing this or doing that, or be at the mall when literally life is outside.
Right.
And the body needs communication with life. The body and the earth are cousins, right? When you touch the earth, when you get a part of the earth, you actually feel fulfilled inside more so, right?
But it's easier for some than for others to get out there. I'm lucky.
I mean, it's right there. It's right outside.
I say outside's everywhere.
It's right chilling. So how does that experience get you into basically singing?
So basically, I'm sitting there having this experience of if this is it, I don't get it. And then you had a doctor that would come check up on you every week, every couple weeks, whatever. So it was on the third day that dude came up and talked to me. He's the first person I've talked to in 3 days. And he was a really nice guy, and we're just having a conversation. And it was as he walked away, I was just other people connecting, that's what we're here to do. If it's just to sit by yourself in a cave, who are you going to share the message with?
Right.
So I don't know. He walked away, and I just sort of started a melody came to me, and I sort of wrote a song off top, and something was just this is what you should do. Wow. This is the only thing that feels right.
Yeah.
So music's been, I don't have to be too I mean, I started off on the most serious note I could.
I mean, no, it's like,
But like,
it's how you figured out what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of every step from there has been sort of pursuing the music.
When you so you leave this event and then do you go straight to a studio, or do you just start grabbing a guitar? Like, how did you start moving forward?
From that point, I mean, no, it was a long journey. So I went from there to this like boarding school for fuck ups in Arizona. Like, there's all these like documentaries on Netflix coming out these days about those programs. It was like one of those. I mean, I was lucky. It wasn't
like Scared Straight type thing.
Yeah, or like I forgot. There's one thing called The Program that just came out. And there's another one about these wilderness programs. Like, Earl Sweatshirt from Odd Future.
Yeah,
he got sent to like I think the same wilderness I went to, and then like the sister boarding school.
Wow.
I mean, it's a crazy experience, bro. Like, you get gooned in the middle of the night. They call it being gooned. Where like two dudes, mine were like U.S. Marshals, show up to your house at 2 a.m. They're like, "This is Jason. He's here to take you to a program in Utah."
Wow.
And so it's pretty wild, experience. But
so are your parents orchestrating this, like to set you straight, kind of?
I mean, this was at the point where like my mom had tried everything. Like, I wouldn't say I was awful, but I was out of control. You know what I mean? It was between substances and I sort of like read Slash's autobiography and all the debauchery he got into as a kid and was like, okay, this is the curriculum.
Right.
So it sort of changed what was like okay to do. Like, oh, stealing's fine. Oh, doing this is fine. Doing this is fine. And just partying more than everyone around me. I think it was just, I would always push the boundaries. I was looking for something.
Right.
And
so you found music to be the muse, like.
Yeah, it saved my life. So I went from there to this boarding school where I was like an electric guitarist. That you're not allowed to have an electric guitar, so I could play only an acoustic guitar. And that sort of started me actually as a songwriter, because then it was like you can't just solo on an acoustic guitar by yourself. It's not cool, So I started writing songs, and I had written some like poems and raps, but I was like, I'm this long-haired rocker kid. I can't rap. I can't be a rapper. But musically, my life has always been this process of sort of like yes and. I think I have to choose between this and that, and then I'm like, but that's not who I am. Like, literally, we were talking about my background, my parents being, Egyptian, Palestinian on my dad's side, Jewish, American, Ukrainian on my mom's. Like, right. I can't choose a side. I can't choose in anything,
That's pretty crazy that you have that dilemma right there.
Yeah, I mean, I was born into it, so it's normal. I think it's actually been a blessing in disguise, because when you realize you don't belong anywhere, you kind of belong everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've had the benefit of like, I get love in any circle I'm in. I might not necessarily feel like I might stand out a little bit, but it's given me the benefit of realizing like, I think most people are pretty fucking similar. Like, we might have different beliefs or approaches or cultures, but like, we're trying to get the same thing. We want to be safe.
Yeah.
Want to live a good life.
For sure. I mean, everybody's just accumulated all their thoughts, ideas, ideologies, philosophies, all these things that you accumulate throughout your time, and you kind of hardwire them into your system to think that you actually believe these things are real things, right? So once you come to a realization that none of it's actually real, it's just manifested ideas and concepts,
right?
Then you can actually become free of all that.
Yeah, it's stories we tell ourselves, and it's informed by real stuff sometimes. Like, there's histories there
for sure,
but it's like we can always make a new story.
Yeah, and then with what's happening overseas, though, it's like kind of it's a conquerization kind of concept, right? So it's interesting, man. It's crazy how some people's mindsets can take them to that level, and they're able to control other people's lives because of the fact that they got to that level.
Right.
With a mindset that somebody as low as a peasant can share with them the same mindset, but you just happen to become the biggest leader of that area. So all these concepts can really change the trajectory of a whole nation, which is insane, right? So talk about how that, from moving forward with your music, you started processing that, how you started processing which type of direction you wanted to go in with your music.
I mean, I was just really into hip hop as a kid. Like, that's what I grew up on, that sort of saved me. But also I grew up on Guns N' Roses and the Beatles, and, sort of back and forth. But I just sort of started absorbing all these influences and being like, I want to honor and respect what I'm learning from, but also this is music. There's no rules. There's no boundaries. These are the tools I have. I have my voice. I have the melodies I can create, and I have a guitar.
Wow.
So sort of, I mean, again, thank God for Geno XO for allowing me the space to grow creatively and experiment and sort of learn to blend these genres and move between worlds musically. And I've had a lot of great support.
How'd you make that connection?
Man, that was a crazy story of following my intuition. Like, it was I always feel like you have that voice in the back of your head, and I'd be like, don't get in that car, or like, no, like go say hi to that person. That like validates certain decisions, and it's hard to tell when it's real, when it's bullshit sometimes. But it's like, I just moved back from Arizona, and I was taking a self-management for the artist class at Washtenaw Community College in Ypsi. And I'm sitting in class one day, and I just had this thought of like, you need to like connect with Eminem's people, like Eminem and his camp. And I'm like, that's a crazy thought. Like, what the fuck can I do? I can Google his address. I'm not going to show up to someone's house. Like, okay, you know. And then a week later, I'm sitting in the same class at the same time, and this dude walks in who's a former student, and the teacher's like, oh, Justin, why don't you tell the class how you like worked with Shady Records and this, that, and the other. And I was like, thank you. You know. But then I'm like, I don't know this dude, what am I gonna say? So but that gut voice was like, just leave the class, go to the bathroom real quick. So I'm to the bathroom, and I'm about to walk out. It's like, just count to 30 before you walk out. I'm like, I don't have this voice most of the time, just to clarify. Just not walking around listening to voices, but it was something was serious. It's like, you feel it, right? When it's like, okay, you know. So I count to 30 and I walk out. He had just walked out of the classroom. We're walking down the hall towards each other. And I'm like, I don't know what to say to this dude. And it was like, just tell him you don't know why, but it's really important that you met him right now. And I just looked him dead in the eye and said that. He just stopped. I didn't say I was a musician. I didn't say what I did. I didn't ask him for anything. I was just like, and he looked at me dead serious and was like, all right, take my number.
Wow.
Call me Saturday.
Wow.
And then my pothead ass fucked up and didn't call him on Saturday. And I'm like, no, I missed my chance.
Yeah.
You know? But then I woke up on Sunday and I called him. I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, man. And he's like, nah, no worries. We didn't end up doing anything yesterday, but I'm doing a video with Swifty McVeigh from D12. Come be an extra in the video. We're filming in a few hours. And I'm like, okay. You know, showed up, went to that. And then it was a complex that had a few different studios in it. And I ended up finding my way to Gino's studio, and he let me just hang in the room, got his contact. And then me and my best friend were talking, and we were just like, we got to get back there. So I was like, can I intern for you? Like, I don't care if it's like helping run recording sessions, going to get the coffee, just sitting there cleaning up the studio. Can we just be there? Yeah. He's like, I'll think about it. Call me back. And he's like, yeah. I started going down 3 days a week, and that sort of changed my life. That led to me meeting Malik, who's managing me now, Malik Maosi, and that's changed my life. Like, we met years ago, you know, but it was like we hit it off as human beings. We worked creatively. We worked as friends, and we were trying to figure out a deal, but it just wasn't the right time yet. You know, we both had to go grow as human beings and then come back. It was like the perfect moment, you know? Yeah. So like, but all that just came from following whatever that is.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of intuition, right? And just, you know, your personality, right? Vibrancy, people liking your personality, trusting you. And you put yourself in the right places at the right times. You know what I'm saying?
I try.
You know what I mean? So what opportunities does that bring? You know, you're developing yourself as an artist, and you're also walking the doors with these major, you know, major artists.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the last year and a half, it's been a process of expanding creatively and developing, you know, what we stand for and how to present it to the world. You know, because I spent a lot of years jumping between things, genre-wise. Sometimes I'm playing with a band, and sometimes I'm doing solo. I've toured solo acoustic hip hop artists, and then sometimes I just want to rap and prove that I can. You know what I mean? Like, but now, I mean, the opportunities. The last year and a half has been really great. Last year I was selected as voted one of the finalists in the NPR Tiny Desk contest from Detroit metro area, and then. Yeah, I mean, we won this contest. We got to open for the Kid Laroi.
Yeah.
And that was crazy because Malik had a whole connection to the Kid Laroi and Juice World, and we were. It was like the whole thing came from he had just said like, "Man, I wish there was a way to get back to that dude," and so like and reconnect with the Kid Laroi, and I was like, 6 months later, I just see this contest on an Instagram ad. Normally, it's like, who knows if those are real, but because we'd had that conversation, I followed, and like. We got so much love and support from the fans here in Detroit and Ann Arbor and Ypsi. And then we ended up winning. I got to open for him at EMU, and we got to reconnect, and it was a whole... So it's been that. And then the video we just dropped, The Come Up, last year was voted for a Michigan Music Video Award.
Cool.
So it's been... And I got to open for Raheem Devon and Bilal at the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater, and that was like the most the best connection I've ever had with the crowd. I had the most
Really?
people coming up like, can I get a photo with this?
Really?
So everything's just been growing. The numbers have been starting to move up with it, and we're just sort of staying open to the universe. I got to meet Dame Dash, perform for him.
Really?
And he said I was good. So
That's cool.
big validation.
So you're getting to have access to these platforms and to showcase your ability, and you're getting a good response from the audience. You know what I mean? That's the most important part. And obviously,
Yeah.
you know, when you're doing the Tiny Desk Award and stuff, and they're reaching back out to you and stuff, it's showing that you have what people want to hear. Right?
Mm.
So that's like a huge motivational force at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of consistency and believing in what you do.
Yeah, for
But-
sure. Most people don't get to experience any of that stuff in their entire career. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're always reaching for it, and they could just never figure it out.
Yeah.
You think your persistence has a lot to do with it, and just your energy?
Yeah, I think, I heard this thing, without going too deep in it. It's basically like we see the things that happen on the outside, but we don't see the work that everyone has to go through on the inside. And it's different for everyone.
Mm.
I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for the opportunities. But if you're not ready for it, and if you haven't done the internal work to be the person that's ready for the life you're asking for,
Yeah.
it doesn't come. And that doesn't take away from the fact that I don't believe anyone is self-made. And everything grows naturally, because I learned you can't force it. Like I've had the experience of playing thousands of shows to nobody, small crowds, medium crowds, bigger crowds. I've had beautiful moments where things jump up. It's not an exponential curve. You know what I mean? It's a lot of up and down. I had the opportunity, speaking of both what's going on in the Middle East and then also the music, how they connect. I had the opportunity a few years ago to tour with Madisyahu.
Wow.
And we did like a campus tour around the country where we would like speak to students on both sides of the issue and hold these like discussions and then do a show in the evening. And that, for like a 20-year-old kid, that's an amazing opportunity very early on. But then I got dropped back off in my life and had to go play the empty bar gigs and then build. So it's like,
Wow.
I think you learn to focus on the craft and not the outcome. Like just keep putting the work in and trusting that the right things come at the right time.
Yeah.
Like I would so much rather have it when I'm ready.
Yeah. It reminds me of like if Gordon Ramsay opens up your restaurant for you and has like a grand opening, and then he leaves the next day, and then it's like, oh shit, I gotta like
Right. I'm still me.
Yeah, I gotta like continue to create these dishes every single day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's the false impression that people live on. It's like you have to really learn the craft. You have to dedicate yourself, and you have to stay internally structured in order for everything to work out at the end of the day. Or else even I've got like when I was first starting podcasting, I had the craziest interview opportunities to interview like really, really major artists. And even though in retrospect I probably shouldn't have turned them down, I did, because I was like, dude, I'm not ready for that. Like,
Wow. You don't want to start there and peak.
yeah, I was like, and a lot of podcasters that are starting now are doing that. They're only going after big major artists. I was like, I'm gonna crash out if I do that.
Yeah.
I was like, because I'm not an interview guy yet. Like I have to learn how to do this. I have to.
Because you came from the video world doing
Yeah,
it.
I came from music videos
Yeah.
and music reviews and comedy and stuff like that. So when I started a podcast, it was out of fun.
Why
And,
did you, what was the choice to transition? What was it about for you? Or did it just naturally?
It naturally happened. I was doing music reviews, and then Helva had came on my podcast to do music reviews with me. And then after we finished music reviews, I interviewed him just out of nowhere. I was just asking questions. It's fucking
already
Helva
set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Helva was sitting right there. And then I ended up posting the interview, and people were like, "Yo, keep fucking doing that. That's incredible what you're doing."
Wow.
So I continued doing interviews, but then I was like, dude, I need to slow it down a little bit. I was
Yeah.
like, let me slow it down and really figure this out, because there's so many holes in like my interview practice and what I was doing. That I was like, let me just slow it down and figure
Right.
this
The
out.
bigger the audience gets, the more pressure there is.
Yeah, all that type of
Yeah.
shit. And it's like, I just wanted to take it slow and take it easy. And I'm glad I did it that way. I'm glad I did it, because now when I do get that interview, let's just say you had that one chance to interview Eminem.
Yeah.
And you did it when you first started doing interviews, and you botched it because you weren't
Right.
experienced. Versus if you wait 300 episodes, 400 episodes, and then you interview him, now you're going to have one of the greatest interviews of all time because you were prepared for
And
it.
it comes back around
Yeah.
as it should.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
Well, we
So-
appreciate the platform, man. It's
Oh,
dope. I've been seeing your content for a long time,
Oh, thanks, bro.
and
Yeah.
it's like, whatever opinions people might have of this, that, and the other, it's always changing, going up and down. But you've been a huge source of people being able to see and hear from voices. Otherwise, you could just be doing music videos,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
taking the bag on the back end, and not.
I feel like a lot of voices have been
know?
heard. I feel like a lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
that
huge.
didn't really have a voice now. Some people have careers now, which is fucking crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you got a career because you came on my podcast and said these motherfuckers are cheating on my podcast, and all of a sudden you have a career. What the fuck? Yeah. But talk about now you're working with Malik, right? And you're getting on these big stages and everything like that, man. What's been like the blueprint for you? How have you been planning to elevate?
I mean, it's been a lot. We sort of move with the spirit a lot, you know? Like, we have an overarching plan and goal and vision. I've learned a lot from Malik. I've never met anyone who's better at sort of following their intuition and watching the way the universe flows and moving with it.
Yeah.
You know? But it's been like building the team and surrounding yourselves with the right people. Like, I feel the most loved and supported and like part of a community that I know cares about me. And it's like, I was just watching that clip with, it was Lotto talking about, like, if you have the management you have, it's like, if those are your people, stay with your people. Because the big managers or whoever, this, that, and the other that you think about, they're like, one, they probably don't have the time for you. And two, they don't have that connection with you as a human being.
Right.
You know, I mean, for me, I was very hesitant for a long time because I was very protective as an independent artist. I don't want anybody owning my shit. I don't want anybody telling me what to do and be in control. So, you know, really building that trust and having people around. It's like, I know you have my back. Let's go conquer the world, you know. But that, and then putting together our vision. Like, you might see this symbol.
Oh, yeah.
This is the brand we're working on, but it stands for individual unity. And it's this idea of, like, you know, we come from very different worlds, and everyone in our circle is like that, right? You can't put anybody in a box. And it's like we respect each other's individuality, but we work better as a team, and we all get further when we're united.
Oh, for sure. When we share identical philosophies and perspectives on life, it makes it way easier of a journey, right?
Yeah.
Talk about, you know, you said you were overseas and you guys were kind of having these
the tour?
Yeah, when you were having these announcements with these different sides and getting perspectives and everything like that. I'm sure that's still a relevant thing for you, obviously, because of your background and everything.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's Palestinian as well, so I was at some of the rallies and some of the events, and we were at the one at Royal Oak where this guy got arrested.
Oh man.
We were like right in front of it happening. It was like crazy watching it
wow.
And I remember the outrage by the community, but I also did remember thinking to myself, can we like not be mad at the police right now? Because the police are just trying to help this thing happen. Like, the police aren't. But there was so much outrage and emotion spilling from the crowd because of what was happening on the global scale, right? So I understood it on that end. Like, you know, these people are suffering. Their families are being destroyed overseas. You know what I'm saying? So you got to speak with people and get both sides and everything like that. And I'm sure your community appreciates when you speak about it. So what's your thought process about what's been happening and the conversation itself? I
mean, it's really tough. Like, I've got family and friends on both sides, literally.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a part of it that I try to center on the human experience and the human pain, because we can get lost in narratives and different sides. But the truth is, at the end of the day, if you're not focused on the fact that one group of people does not have human rights and statehood and freedom, like, no one's free till everyone's free,
right?
Sort of thing. So I think it all has to be centered in that. Now, where I break down is when it's so easy when there's so much pain and hatred and everyone wants vengeance. Even if you don't want vengeance, there's just a part of you that's hurting and angry, where it's like we turn against each other, and it's like, no, it's not. We don't need to be anti-Jewish. We don't need to be anti-Arab. We don't need to, all these things where it's like no group is a monolith, right? I haven't met a single group of people where everybody's the same and thinks the same way. Mm-hmm. You can't even get in one family where people don't disagree. So to think that one group can be labeled this way or the other, you know, and it's very important, I think, to separate the human beings from the systems and the circumstance.
Yeah. When you bring it down to the fact that everybody's an individual human, right? And then, like we said earlier, they're developing all these, just religion itself, just developing this into your system itself can change the dynamic of how your mind works, because now you're living based upon thousands of years of tradition and belief and culture.
Right.
So that can change how you act and approach things, right? And it can also change how you approach your land and what you think is yours and what you think is somebody else's.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, you know, if we're going to be honest, no human being has a claim to any land. Right. We're all guests here, you know.
Exactly,
but if you're going to buy into the idea of a claim to the land, both sides have ancestral claims.
You know what the best song in the world about that is? John Mayer, Belief.
Yeah, I love that
Continue.
song.
Yeah,
I used to
man.
practice that.
For real?
Yeah. That was a hard guitar part to play when I first started.
What's the main line? He says, there's never gonna be God damn.
We're never gonna stop this war.
Yeah, we're never gonna win
if
the world.
belief is what you're fighting for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're never gonna win the world. We're never gonna stop the war if belief is what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
So he's basically in the entire song, which they really tried to take it off the album, but the entire song is basically like we're destroying the world because of somebody has a belief. You know?
Right. I mean, and that's the thing though. Like narrative is so powerful though. We need a common story. Like if you look at Palestine and Israel, it's like, as hard as it is to set the pain aside, there's enough land for both people. There's 7 million Arabs and 7 million Jews. There's enough land. There's enough resources. There's just not a shared understanding and a way to put the past in the past. And right now, but basically where I really stand at the end of the day, because I know the history. My mom was an expert on it. Palestinian-Israeli conflict, teaches Arabic and Hebrew, Dartmouth and U of M. Like and my father was a political revolutionary from Egypt. I come from educated people on this and I've learned a lot, but it's like you can go so deep in that and the conclusion is the same. We have two options. We're either going to talk or we're going to fight. And I believe in talking.
Right.
You know, as hard as it is. I'll talk to anyone I disagree with, even if they hate me, because I know the alternative is violence. Right. And we've seen, like, this is the worst these conflicts are. It's not, the numbers aren't getting smaller over the decades, you know?
Yeah, and now that there's footage and more evidence, up to date, like live stream evidence of what's happening, it's like,
yeah,
you can just see the injustice like prolific, bro. Like at the end of the day, it's hard to not take a side on the humanity side of things. On the humanity side of things, it's like, come on, that's clearly,
yeah. I mean,
there's no excuse for that or reason for that. You know what I mean? That's
any occupied people without force, without rights. I mean, living. You know, it's like, I'm on the side of people being free.
Yeah.
Period.
It makes no sense. But you know, that's a whole discussion, obviously. That's a whole discussion. I want to talk a little bit more about with all respect to that, obviously. Like you said, my girlfriend's Palestinian, so I already know there's a lot to it.
I'm just glad that you're bringing it up on the platform.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I want to talk about you a little bit more, man. I want to talk about the blueprint right now. Like we said earlier, you're kind of going you guys are just going as it goes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, talk about what you have looked forward to as any opportunity arose from this. Because like you said, after the events and everything like that, you come back and you're doing the bar gigs. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
how have you been able to pivot or change trajectory for yourself?
I mean, I think a lot of it was regrouping and focusing on the music, and we've been basically just getting better and better response to everything we put out. The live shows, the strongest it's ever been. People are loving it. So basically, our game plan is put out a bunch of great music this year, release heavily in the spring, get ready for tours in the fall. Yeah. And, crank. Just work.
Did they used to call you like Jack Black or something back in the day, or what? You have Jack Black vibes, bro. Like,
got Jack Black energy?
Yeah,
I'll
man.
take that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
respect that.
Jack Black's a fucking legend, man. School of Rock.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah.
out of here. This guy was rocking, dude. This guy made a song
grew up
about.
on it.
He made a song about the rent being late. Like he had to pay for rent. He made a whole song about rent. That's insane.
The Pick of
Tenacious D and the
Destiny.
Pick of the
Yeah, I was
man.
about to say.
Yeah,
I grew up on it.
He made a movie. They have a new album out now. It came out like last year. Tenacious D came out with another tape. Oh, fucking phenomenal.
That's a classic. We grew up on it.
Tenacious D, yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, Kid Laroi too. I know you guys brought up Kid Laroi. That guy's cool and everything, but when you search up on Chat GPT, because if you're not verified on Chat GPT, you're not a real artist yet. So when I look up my name on Chat GPT, I look up who is Kid L on Chat GPT. It said, "Are you speaking of Kid Laroi or are you speaking of Kid
you got
L?"
a beef. You got a vendetta.
But I'm sick about it. They still show my name like Kid Laroi or Kid L, and I'm like, motherfucker, this dude. And does he even make music still? Like, I haven't seen him jump
He's out here. I think he's about to tours.
All right. I'll let him slide for now. Is there anything you want to talk about before we sign off, man?
Nah, I'm grateful to be here.
Sure.
Actually,
yeah.
I'm just very excited to work with people in the city. We want to bring everyone together, music-wise. Like, I might be from Ann Arbor. I spent a lot of time in both scenes, bringing the live band, hip-hop. If you want some guitar on your tracks, if you want to produce together, work on something, or have a feature, hit me up.
For sure.
Trying
you play
to connect.
bass?
Yeah, I'll play anything.
I'll hit you up, man. We're looking for a bass. Nick knows we're looking for a bass.
Put me on the Kid L EP. I'll play bass on the Kid L EP.
I'm in a band. Seriously.
Yeah? Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm in we're a post-rock band. We're called Avatar Mode. We've been performing for a while. We played at Dally in the Alley.
Okay.
2 years in a row. We played at Winterfest. We've done shows at like Blind Pig and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Seriously, we're looking for a
Pig.
bassist down, man. I'll hit you up. See if
Yes,
you can
sir.
get on the tracks with us. We're at Parallel Sound Studio, Hilo Visual Shootings Productions. We're out. Peace.